Well, ANC Struggle stalwarts are unhappy with the party's offer to hold a consultative conference 2 days before their policy conference. They're calling for a national policy conference to address their concerns about the party. We're joined by ANC stalwart Reverend Frank Chikane to tell us more about this. Reverend, good morning, and thanks for your time. You seem to have succeeded in convincing the ANC to have this consultative conference, but you're not happy with the proposal. Tell us why.
No. Actually, the outcome of our discussion with them was this national consultative forum, because they had to change the position they had and agree with us. I think now it's a matter of detail, and our team has gone there, has had discussions with the leadership twice, and the veteran stalwarts met, and what they are really saying is that you can't pack up the consultative conference back to back with the policy conference. You need it as a standalone to reflect on what has gone wrong. You diagnose it, and when you agree, prescribe the medicine to resolve the crisis that the movement is facing. And then you can go into a policy conference 2 months or so after, so that you can process this in the minds of the people. By the time they go to the policy conference, they really have agreed about what needs to be done.
Okay, so you're not happy with the length and the timing of when that is supposed to happen next year?
No, we actually are not saying we are not happy. They considered it, they came with an idea. We say we don't think it will work in that way, and we are asking that it be moved and delinked so that it can achieve the objective it's supposed to achieve. And we are hoping that we'll agree, because we're not fighting about it. We are saying this is the best way in which we can resolve this problem.
Give us some insight into those objectives and what you're hoping this consultative conference will actually deal with, and the outcomes you're hoping for. What are you taking to
You know the details, but there's no time to deal with the details. They are in the document we gave the organization, paragraphs 12, 13, 14, 15. And they state clearly what the nature of the crisis is, and that the leadership would have to take radical decisions to reverse the loss of confidence in the organization, because the last election indicates that people lost confidence. These are people who support the party, and these are the people who have voted for it over the years, but simply stayed at home. And they could stay at home by 2019 if nothing gets done. And what the stalwarts are saying is, please, let's address the issues that led this movement to where it is. If you don't do it, you're going to pay a price. You
speak of making some radical choices and decisions. That's what you're asking of. And we know that the issue of leadership has plagued the ANC for a while now. Growing calls from some partners, example, Kasatu, backing Cyril Ramaphosa as an interim leader. Is that the kind of radical decision? Is that the kind of radical remedies that you might be standing by and calling for?
Well, the stalwarts are not talking about names. What we are talking about is that the people, the leadership has failed the people of South Africa. It's in our document. And because of that, people have lost confidence. So the leadership must take collective responsibility. Because, for example, when they did what they did in Parliament, there are very good lawyers in that parliament from the African National Congress. They would have known that they are doing something unconstitutional or illegal or impermissible. They didn't have to wait for a court to tell them that. They should have stopped it. They didn't. And the leadership met a number of times as it was happening. They didn't act. That's where the loss of confidence comes in. And we are saying the leadership must take a stand and say, we actually failed, and we are now going to fix this, and we're going to make sure that these irregular things never happen again, especially when it goes to corruption and defending the indefensible. And you can't gain the confidence of the people by doing that. And that's all we're asking the leadership to do. Turn around, change the trajectory, say to the nation, we went wrong. and then prescribe a formula, which is what the consultative conference would be about, so that we don't predetermine it, but in that conference would say, this is what went wrong, and this is what we need to do to correct
Who
it.
will be part of that conference with you, with the veterans and so on?
From the veteran stalwarts' point of view is that it would be representatives of the African National Congress, because that's what you are trying to deal with, but you bring in civil society and other sectors of society, the youth, the churches, and other people, because the African National Congress has always been about the people, not itself. And if it has to determine what needs to happen, it's the people. They need to listen to the people, and you need to bring in the people into the consultative conference to interact with.
And speaking of the consultation, I mean, the word from the party has always been, if you have a problem, go to your branches and state what your issue is, and we'll take it from there. Have you been in consultation with branches? Do you plan?
Now, you say I'm one person, I've written about it. I've walked the journey from branch to region, province, before I arrived at Letule House. And I did indicate I'm going to come back with the veterans and the stalwarts, and I did so. And nobody can tell me I've not gone to branches, etc. But you see, you can't go to other branches without an agreement. I can go to my branch, but you can't go to, then you'll be interfering. So now that we have agreed, the other agreement in that meeting with the working committee was that we'll go to the branches together. So what the veterans decided on yesterday is that we're going to ask that we do provinces and regions, because it's much more easier between now and March than go to branches, because it will take a long time to go to branches. Yeah.
Now, Reverend Chikane, you wrote your open letter in September last year. It's over a year now. We know it was not meant to be made public, but then it became public. Yeah. Some might ask you, what has taken stalwarts and veterans so long to speak up? Surely the problems in the ANC must have been evident more than just a year ago. What was the red flag for you? And if you could answer that to people who might ask, why has it taken so long?
Well, I started this journey a long time ago, so I can't be asked that question. But the question is, why did the rest of the stalwarts take so long? The easiest question, the easiest way to answer this question, which was very difficult to understand at the beginning, is that veterans of the movement are very loyal to the organization. And it happens rarely that the elders of the organization stand up and say, this is going wrong. They always believe the leaders will fix it. They always believe they will self-correct. But this time, it did not happen. And it took too long before the intervention happened. It had to wait for certain things to happen, including the Constitutional Court ruling, which really turned things around. And so now, every veteran I meet would say, we must do something, we must fix it. By the way, it's not just to fix the ANC. It's for the country, because the ANC was always about the people. It was never about itself. And that's the concern of the people. Yeah.
Now, despite what we've heard from some high-ranking party members about what they're unhappy about and their discontent, in general, the leadership seems to be steadfast. It seems to be, what are we doing wrong? The president himself in Parliament saying, I'm here to stay, nothing is going to make me move. And what will you do, if that is what you're met with at this consultative conference?
That's part of the reason why we had to stand and intervene. There's no reason why a comrade Kathrada should, at his age, be doing what he is doing. It is because the leadership is not capable to make the decisions they know they must make. If you were in the leadership, you would have known that you shouldn't wait until the Constitutional Court tells you what to do. You know that what the public protector has put forth, it needs to be responded to. You must deal with it rather than attack her. You know that in Parliament, you can't go and defend the indefensible, because what the parliamentary action was about was just the opposite of what's happening now, which, by the way, which is very encouraging. So they actually stood there to defend the indefensible. That tells you that the leadership is constrained in making decisions. I'm quite convinced everybody who sits in that NEC knows that what they were doing is wrong.
So just to help us understand, Reverend, before I let you go, you're not going there with those decisions to tell them what to do. You want to sit together and decide, what do we all do as past and current
We have
members?
prescribed some things in the document, particularly when you go to paragraph 15, 16. Unfortunately, I can't go through the details. We prescribe, we say the leadership must take collective responsibility. They must say to the nation, we have gone wrong. And they must say to the nation what they are going to do to make sure that they fix it rather than defend the indefensible. I think that's where the public loses confidence, if you defend the indefensible. And when you see the rot that's coming out, even about SABC and other, it's impermissible. We should never allow things like those under our watch. And that's what the veterans are saying. But they don't want to prescribe in public details without consultations. That's what we would like to.
And you're still waiting to hear about what will happen next year, whether your request will be
There are going to be further discussions because the delegation we sent, they came to report back yesterday. They're going to go back again. We're going to have further discussions. We hope that we're going to agree.
Okay, we'll wait to hear about that. Thanks very much, ANC stalwart Reverend Frank Chikane.